Hashtag the Women's Film Festival, yeah. This is the Funny Women panel, and these ladies here are pretty funny. As you can see, the web series, ha ha, get your Depends out. That's how real it is. So I am going to introduce the panel very quickly. First, give it up to Anna. That was your web series trailer.
Hi.
Anna Suzuki. I said that right?
Yeah.
Like a car of comedy that I drive. Is an NYC-based comedian and actor. She has appeared in numerous stand-up festivals around the country. Credits include Orange is the New Black, HBO's High Maintenance, I Am Michael, with James Franco and Zachary Quinto, Time Out of Mind with Richard Gere. Currently, Anna is a part of the all-Asian sketch team Asian Pop? Asian with a... Asian Pop, yep. And co-host of the variety show podcast, The Soul Glow Project. Most recently, Anna co-created the dark comedy web series Japandering. That's right. That's what it said. Which is what we just saw, right? Great. In Tokyo, based on her experience growing up biracial in Japan. So say hi to Anna on Twitter at the Jap. Yep. That's what it says. It's the @ the JAP exclamation point. Hope you wrote that down. More info at japandering.com. Hello, Anna Suzuki. She's everywhere, so just Google her and find her in the streets. She got stuff to say. Now, this next woman here, I love her a lot. She's one of the most amazing women on planet Earth to me, so because I can have my opinion and I have the mic. Jennifer MacMillan was the valedictory speaker at the Commencement Class of 2006 in her acting program. She was also the winner of the Inaugural National Playscripts Funny Women competition. She published a play, Enter Bogart. She's currently a professional improviser and founding member of Tongue and Groove Spontaneous Theater Company. She performed with them for 7 years. She's also the co-founder and former artistic director of Invention, the White Pines Ensemble, and she is internationally recognized storyteller with a 4-star review for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which is like in another country, right? International funny, not just in English, in all languages. And she was a Barrymore nomination for Outstanding Ensemble for Fair Maid of the West with the Philadelphia Artists Collective in 2015. There was a quote about her from Toby Zinmans of the Governor Inspector with the IRC saying, she is a gifted comedian. She's also an amazing woman and phenomenal. And I could go on, but that's Jennifer MacMillan.
Hi, thank you.
Yes. And that blank chair is for me, and I'm here, so that's it. Now we have our moderator. Turn up. Last but certainly not least is Melissa Kim is a writer, director, and producer with a BA in electronic media from the George Washington University. That's the first president, right? Right? Yep. Yes, it is. She once rocked the polyester blue jacket of NBCU's Page program and spent several years working in Los Angeles in casting, international television distribution, and theater, among many other pursuits. She has since returned to the Philadelphia area and is currently a writer for the Entertainer website. Soonpy. You know how like you read something and you know what it says, but you second guess yourself? That's what I'm doing here, and I shouldn't do that, but I did it. Did I say that right? Did I say that right, Melissa? Soonpy. Yep. I feel like I want to cuddle it. On a completely unrelated note, if you run into Taekyon, yep, give him her number. Somebody out there in the streets, it's the internet. Let me spell the name of the person. TAECYEON. Melissa wants to find you and connect. Call her now. Okay. I'm sitting down. So listen, this is like a moderation where we're going to ask questions, but ask anything you want of us. We're an open book, and we'll try to keep it trill. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hello. Yeah, let's get started just with maybe talk about, if you could, how each of you got started in the industry.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming out on this beautiful day. I'm Anna. I started in musical theater because I wanted to sing and dance full-time professionally. And I realized I'm not great at dancing, but I was always really funny. So I transitioned into stand-up comedy. And my dad, who is in my series, which I'll talk about later, he's a very Jewish man who looks like George Costanza from Seinfeld, but he speaks Japanese fluently. So he did a lot of TV in Japan, and that was my introduction to showbiz. And if anyone knows anything about J-pop culture, yeah, I see one person nodding. Okay, good. It's a niche audience, but I met my idol, SMAP. Oh my God. Okay, I'm just connecting with you now. So that was my first experience on set, and yeah, that's how I got started.
Awesome, okay. Let's move this here a little. That's the best way to.
Yeah. Sit up. There we go.
So I'm Jennifer MacMillan, and I got started sort of unofficially around the age of 3 or 4 when I realized that I could get things I wanted by being funny. So I'm an only child, so I spent a lot of time alone as a kid. I had a very robust imagination. I was always drawn to acting, I think, even before I knew what it was. I spent a lot of time with my grandfather when I was a kid, and he was elderly, so we would watch a lot of TV, and he liked classic television, so we watched I Love Lucy and All in the Family, and this sort of classic television with really strong, funny female leads, character-driven comedy stories, and I loved it, even when I didn't understand exactly what was going on. And I think that was sort of my start, actually. Whereas in those early formative years, hanging out with my grandfather and trying to make him laugh and spending time sitting with him. He would read me the Sunday comics every Sunday, and at the end of every comic strip, I would ask him why it was funny and make him explain it to me. And that was the beginning of my comedy and theater education. And then sort of more formally, I'm originally from the Boston area, and my mom and I moved to the western part of the state of Massachusetts, and it's very rural there, and there wasn't much to do. And the first weekend that we were in town at our new place, we got the newspaper, and we were looking for something to do. And there were 3 things in the what's doing section. One was an AA meeting. One was a salamander search and find, which whatever you think that is exactly what that is. Like, go to the woods, look for salamanders, find them, and then let them go. And the third thing was auditions for the children's company for the Berkshire Public Theater's production of A Christmas Carol. So since we didn't want to go to the AA meeting, we piled into the car and we headed over for these auditions, and I waited all day, and I was the last kid to be seen, and I begged my mom not to make me, because I was so nervous by that point. But we had literally nothing else to do. So I went and auditioned, and I actually had a great time. I loved it. And that was the sort of more formal launch of my career. Those are the early formative years. So, yeah?
Yup. Mm-hmm. Came out the womb, played a lot, caused a lot of havoc. I always say that I'm glad that I was born when I was, because I was very active and couldn't really focus. And so I'm glad I had parents that was like, put her into theater. And it really helped me out. Like, I sucked at school. My mom had to go to like a homeworks helper school. And yeah, I just been odd and playing with Cornish hens and becoming friends with them. And then I wouldn't eat them when they were cooked. Like, everything was a show. And then, you know, people kept saying there was something in me that was like fun and light and special. So yeah, I did a play, and they let me make up my own, and yeah, that was it.
I know that all of you ladies have done a lot, not just as performers, but also as writers, directors, and content creators. But you can't ignore the fact that so much of the industry is male-dominated, and with particular regards to comedy, and especially in stand-up, can you tell a little bit about your experiences there?
Yeah. So I spent 4 or 5 years doing stand-up in New York, and so for example, when a male comic comes on stage, they would never say, like, our next comedian is a straight white male. He's very funny, right? They would never introduce him that way. But for some reason, when a woman comes on stage, they go, the next comedian is a woman. Or they would go, she's very funny. Like, it's unbelievable that she's a woman and she's funny. So that still happens today in 2016. And it is very white, male, hetero-dominated. Yeah, and I think it's really important to support each other in that. I run a monthly diversity variety show in New York, in Harlem, where we have everyone on the show except straight white dudes. So if anyone ever wants to perform in New York, please let me know, unless you're straight and white and a dude. Yeah, it's rough. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that come to mind. Right off the top, Christina mentioned in my intro that there was I won a national playwriting competition, actually, that was put out by a rather large organization called Playscripts, which is the #1 place to go to get theatrical material, scripts. And they realized that they didn't have enough material written by women for women, specifically for young women, specifically for school theater groups, which are, if you've ever done middle school or high school theater, you get 99 women and the one little boy that you coerced into being there because you needed a dude. So they put out a national competition call for women or teams of women writers to write comedy specifically for young women. And it was awesome because I got to write characters that I wish I had had the opportunity to dig into when I was younger. But interestingly enough, the Playscripts competition was actually called the Are Women Funny Playscripts National Competition Call. So... yeah, and I mean, I think their heart was in the right place, but yeah, damn. So, answer, yes.
Okay. All right. So I guess in my thing, I had a lot of the men. When it comes to men, I've always had very supportive men. It's actually, believe it or not, the women that was real shady. Gotta say, like, men would be like, "Oh, you're cool, you're funny, you're diverse, do what you want," and women would be looking at me like, "What are you doing here?" You know what I mean? And it's like, so it was interesting, and I think basically everything I am is to be the woman I wish I saw when I was growing up. I do a lot of coaching for artists. I also do a lot of teaching, and it's like I didn't see it, and I thought to myself, wow, I mean, my godmother, she was influential, but she's not in the arts. But like all the teachers that made the biggest role in me were men. I'm like, where are the women at? So and it made me think of this audition, and I was actually in New York, and I wasn't even auditioning at all. A friend of mine was, and I was supporting her. And like, if you know me, I'm like, I am a champion of everything. I could go on a tangent, but I'm not gonna go there just yet, right now, but I'm gonna wait. Or should I do it? Should I do it now?
Do what your heart
Okay, all right. Because if I don't say nothing else, I'm gonna say this. I generally think with women, there's not a sense of like love. Like, like women, it's the society that tells you that women are like against each other. All you hear is like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler or Oprah and Gail. Like there's not women that are like best friends with each other. And so what I found was with other women, it bothered me more than men. You know, men like were cool with me. Women were looking at me up and down. So yeah, I went to this audition and, you know, this girl, she's wonderful, beautiful brown-skinned woman. And I go, hey, you're auditioning. She goes, what do you care? They only want people that look like you anyway. She like rolled her eyes at me and left. And I was like, whoa, I wasn't really prepared for it. And I really feel like as a woman and a funny woman and an evolving woman, it's a very secluded space. Like you don't really find other women that are like genuinely have your back. You know, like this woman right here, I love her. Like not because she's talented, but for who she is. And I think there's this illusion that women are against each other. And I wish that more women and panels like this and festivals like this were happening to show that women do really care about each other. And we really do, excuse my language, fuck with each other hard in a genuine way that is like, how can I help you? Because that's what I never saw. It wasn't the men, it was the women. Yep.
Yeah, I think there's something interesting. I had an experience where I had a male person in the industry say to me, so what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to do comedy because I like making people laugh, and that's kind of my natural set point. I'm a little neurotic, and so a lot of good comedy comes out of that neuroses. And he looked at me, very knowledgeable, smart, well-respected, and he was like, well, you're really too pretty to be a character actor. So there's this idea from the get, I think, that especially young women are sort of told you're one of two things. You know, you can be the character actor, but then you've got to be maybe, you know, have crazy teeth, be kind of heavy, you know, or have wacky, you know, whatever your, you know, physical sort of non-traditional look to be in comedy. Or if you're a little bit more traditionally attractive, then you need to play the wife and the mother and the secretary. And there are these two sort of strongly defined boxes, it feels like, the industry really wants to put women in. And there isn't, I think we're starting to make huge strides towards exploding those boxes and starting to see more diversity on our screens and on our stages and starting to change people's perceptions. But there's definitely something that I feel, especially as a woman, about the way I look. People will often very good-naturedly say to me, wow, you were really funny. I didn't expect that when you came out. And I was like, really, why? I'm like, well, you're so pretty. And it's this really interesting thing. So, well, thank you. But also, like, let's be both. Can we? Why not? You know?
I think you're pretty. But
I do too.
okay. But I once heard that, so I think change will come from the inside. You know, once we have more diverse writers and women writers. I once heard that a lot of times when they're casting movies and TV shows, the parts are by default for white men. You know, like, why can't the judge be a woman? Or like the police officer be a person of color or a woman? Because white men write what they know and they hang out with white dudes, you know? So, sorry, I love you, white dudes. I see one in here, sorry. Oh, two. There we go.
He's ready to run. He's like, I did not come here to get bashed.
Right in front of me.
I am supportive. I am here.
Just kind of industry aside for a minute on a more personal note, what did your parents say when you told them what you wanted to pursue? Did they support you, or did they kind of try to steer you in another direction?
I fortunately had a very, very supportive family, and my dad did do TV and film in Japan, so he understood the lifestyle. But I do remember after musical theater school, I decided to transition into stand-up, and I called my mom and I said, hey, thank you for putting me through school, but I think I'm gonna do comedy now. And she totally ignored me, and she said, well, your brother got into an Ivy League school, which he did. So, yeah, that was a little Asian shade from my mom. But other than that, supportive, and I'm really grateful because I understand that not everyone has that support system. Yeah.
My dad was always very supportive, and my mom was definitely supportive as well. But I've always been fiercely independent, so their support was neither here nor there for me. Honestly, like, I really actually didn't care what they thought. I don't know that I ever asked, actually. And I had, it took me until I was about 26 or 7 to finally say to my mom has this habit for a while that she'll send me jobs that she sees. She's like, oh, here's a thing, and she'll send it to me, and she's always saying things like, you'd make a really great lawyer. You'd be so good at that. And she'll send me, like development associate positions. It's like some random university or whatever. And she'd be like, hey, I saw this and I thought of you. And it's coming from a really sweet place, but I actually had to kind of sit her down in my mid to late 20s and be like, Mom, I'm already a thing. Like, I don't need thank you, but I'm already a thing. I'm already a person. I've already grown into what I'm meant to do. I'm a grown-up with a job. It's just a little non-traditional. And she comes to see all of my stuff, and she loves it when I'm happy. And beyond that, I don't really care.
Well, yeah. I always had this is the thing. There was a dream that I felt like was put on me, because when you're talented and gifted, they're like, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. So I had support in that, and then it was crushing my soul, and I kind of had to die to that and then become happy in what I wanted to do. So being in the arts, it's like, you're talented, you are going to be famous and do this one thing. And I kept going after it, and it kept eluding me, and it kind of drove me absolutely insane. And I was like, there has to be something that I can do that is not, I was crushing under the weight of their support, believe it or not. Like, oh yeah, go do it. This is what I think you should do, or you're really special, you should do this. And just finding the courage to take the time to figure out who I was. And then I got back to my art, and then it was like, oh wow, this is fun. So right now I'm like living the life that I'm creating. I'm living the life that I want. And it's actually the happiest, because it doesn't, like you said, Jen, it doesn't need anybody else's cosign. And that's the thing about being an artist. We do our art, but we want to be cosigned for it, which is great. But if everything I say I'm giving you the power for, I can't really be funny and authentic, because I'm just waiting for you to tell me I'm enough. But when I say I'm enough and everything I do is enough, people are co-signing on what I already know. So that's how support could be like a crutch and yeah.
Yeah, Christina, I think you touched upon a good point also, the pressure that you feel, that you put on yourself or from the support you get from other people. So then you feel that much more pressure, to put out great content and amazing performance.
Yeah. And it stops creativity, because it's like, oh my gosh, not only are you or people like you. I remember a point, I think I was in my, I was like in my early 20s, and I realized I was bullied until I started to act. Then when I started to act, I found something that I could do that made people like me. So my identity was in, I'm funny, I'm talented, I can write, I'm hilarious. And then I realized I got so stressed that I had gotten sick, and I realized, oh my God, if I couldn't do that, if I couldn't act, if I couldn't be funny, who was I? And it was very scary, because I realized I wasn't as confident as I thought I was. I wasn't as brilliant as I thought I was. And then I had to do the hard work of being like, who is Christina without the stuff? And I think that experience gives us the ability to say her, because life is an opportunity. Life is full of obstacles, but it's like, no, I have something to say and something to do. So yeah, that helped me out a bit. Because it's challenging, because you want to be perfect and you don't want to fail, especially if you're like the first one to do it, or you're diverse, or whatever your thing is, you're like, and I think I am bold enough to speak for these women here and saying, we're trying to create something that paves something different. Sometimes you got to look at the industry and like, I fuck with you, but I'm gonna go my own way until you like me, and then you're gonna come get me and give me all the checks. Versus doing what everybody else is doing, Which is why you have women that are creating their own things on this panel. You have women who are like, I'm sure you could speak about starting something, and then a man tries to shut you down, and then you gotta rearrange it.
Thank you, because that leads into my next question. What are, some, as creators, as writers and performers, what are some of the biggest obstacles you faced in creating content?
Maybe not necessarily in terms of creating content, but I'm a really jealous person. And for a while, I couldn't accept the fact that we all take different paths. And Facebook and social media is poison, really. I would just, I would look at other people's accomplishments and just want to like jump off a bridge, I mean, not really, it's okay, I'm okay. But there was one time a friend of mine, so this goes back to sort of women having to support each other. A friend of mine that I'd known, I guess, we weren't that close, but we all come up in the same community, right? And she had gotten a really amazing writing job on a new TV show. And my first instinct was just to stay in bed all day and cry. And it's funny, right? And that just stemmed from my insecurities, and but yeah, we have to celebrate each other's successes because we're all riding each other's coattails. So if you succeed, I succeed. What was the question? Sorry.
Obstacles in...
Obstacles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll think about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely my biggest obstacle.
Yeah.
I sort of struggle with the idea that I have anything unique to say. I get hooked up on the idea that if it's not completely new and original, it's not anything. And then when we're standing in the shadow of people like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler and Lucille Ball, and it's like, well, I'm not them, so I'm no one. So similar, similar to what you're saying, but not social media necessarily. And I get stuck on trying to think of a new thing, a new idea that no one's ever done before, and that just doesn't exist, obviously. And I really get in my own way. I mean, even coming here, I'm like completely sick to my stomach and second guessing myself doing this, because it's like, well, why am I on a panel? I'm not an expert in anything. I don't even have a master's degree or a doctoral degree, or I've never been in a movie. It's almost like you need to already be started in order to get started. Well, that's kind of the trick that my brain likes to tell me a little bit. So, I mean, that's one of the big obstacles is definitely myself. And then the other obstacle I would throw into the mix really just has to do with money. And I think we all face that obstacle in all of our careers and all the things we attempt to do. Because we have to hustle some money gigs. It's really hard to... it's easy to just get caught in the spin cycle of going to your money job and trying to keep your house clean, and then not having time and money and resources, mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional, to make something. And especially when you're trying to make something funny, it's really hard for me to create comedy out of a place of hating myself. I know that works for a lot of comedians. It just doesn't actually work for me. It just keeps me from creating anything. So yeah, I would say myself and money.
I think feeling like you're like a bright fluorescent color in a world that wants to make you just black and white. And knowing that something is worth fighting for and getting people to be like, don't be scared, trust me, what I'm saying is true. And people being like, okay, here's the investment, but it's gonna fail. And just always going against the grain is the biggest obstacle, and just trusting that. Trusting that thing inside of me that says, I know this seems crazy, I know this seems insane, but do it. And don't, like you were saying, not waiting for the bigger I don't know, I always say there are 3 stages in life. There's exploration, preparation, and ascension. You're either exploring what you want to do and why you're here, and then once you figure that out, you're doing the same thing over and over again. Just going to panels and creating things and going, and then all of a sudden there's an opportunity that just ascends you to your level of influence, and or whatever you're meant to do. And I think understanding where I was at in those 3 things really helped me out a lot. It keeps the obstacles as like, great, this happened to me, this sucks. I'm learning for this, let's go. Just having a goal or an intention of like, this is what I'm meant to do really makes the obstacles fun instead of like, I'm gonna not do this anymore.
Yeah, I know we have a few other writers and filmmakers in the audience. And you're all very amazing, talented women with a lot of successes.
Boom.
But what a lot of people don't talk about is the moments where they almost gave up on their career, or they really were like, I'm done. So can you tell us a little bit about if and when you've experienced that and how you got past it?
I feel like my relationship to my art is, it's kind of like being in I'm sort of in a bad, like borderline abusive relationship with myself and my art. That sounds awful to say, but when I kind of break up with my art, I finally reach a place and I'm like, you know what? I liked you once, but I've moved on. I'm cool. I don't need you. Forget you. When I finally moved to that place is when art starts calling me and knocking on my door all like, baby, let's talk about this. I'm like, well, and some friend, it'll start, sort of organically and quietly enough, like, hey, Jen, I just somebody dropped out and it's an emergency, can you? Okay, and then before I know it, I'm back again with a whole list of projects, totally befuddled and bewildered about how that happened, until the sort of cycle, recycle, rinse, and repeat again, where, when I turn my back on it is when it comes crawling back to me. When I'm like, hey, art, where have you been? Like, call me, text me. I'm just at home. If you want to call me back, I'm right here. Like, no pressure, but you could if you wanted. Hey, it's me again, art. I miss you. What are you doing? Just call me. Nothing. Right? Of course, because that's not attractive or interesting. And the universe is teaching me a lesson about that.
Are you a needy girlfriend?
With my art, I think I might be a little crazy, actually, like the crazy girlfriend. I'm not proud of that. I'm still working on trying to create, what are the boundaries, and ask myself questions of, why do I agree to do things that I don't want to do? Because I do that all the time. What's really at stake is questions I have to ask myself. I feel like my art gets done to me a lot. Instead of me really being in the driver's seat, I'm waiting for opportunities and then I'm taking them. And part of that, I think, is because, especially as women in a really difficult industry, it's really pounded into us that you have to take every project. Just never say no to anyone or anything, because you may never have another one again. And there's this real fear and sort of scarcity model behind what we do. And we really convince ourselves that we can't turn anything down, and then I get stuck in a whole bunch of things, and I'm like, what am I doing here? This is weird. Yeah. And then you feel tired, and exhausted, and you've sort of spent yourself in a way that it's like you hopped into the car with the intention to drive to the corner, and the car just took over and drove you halfway across the country. And then when you got out, the car just stopped in a random place, and you get out and all these people are applauding you like, congratulations, amazing, and you're just still in your pajamas. You're like, wait, what? What's happening? I was going to the corner store. This is weird.
Yeah. If you read Tina Fey's book, I know she told you to say yes to everything, but I don't really believe in that. There is power to saying no to things you don't believe in or things that your gut says no to. And for me, when I get really overwhelmed about my career, I just take it day by day. Last week, I had 7 auditions in 3 days, and I had to memorize 30 pages of dialogue. And I said, okay, today I'm just a nurse, so forget about tomorrow when I'm a therapist. And you just take it day by day. But going back to saying no, last year, or maybe 2 years ago, someone asked me to be in their project, and naturally my instinct was to say yes, but then he described my part as like a mail-ordered bride from Japan, and I said no, because I don't want to do that. And yeah, he found someone else, and I got out of that shit. So say no if you don't want to do it.
Yeah, I know that we're starting to run out of time. Why don't we open up to audience Q&A?
Boom.
Wow.
Don't be shy.
I have a question. I'm just curious, what's your brainstorming process for comedy? So like from inception of an idea to like playing around with it to the end result.
Oh, that's an awesome question. If it's something that I'm making up for myself, like if I'm doing a storytelling show or I'm writing stand-up or something like that, I like to think about like the most fucked up things that are going on for me and start there. And I also like to ask myself, what's the thing that I would be totally mortified to get up in front of a room of people and share or do? So I try to start there sometimes as well, because that thing that bubbles up, you get this idea, it comes up from nowhere, and then I think our tendency is out of fear to go like, oh, no, we're not gonna do that, that's crazy. That means there's something in that, I think. There's something in that idea. And so that's kind of where I usually start. I also like to keep my eye open for things in the world that strike me as like bizarre, weird, like funny conversations, weird people, strange headlines in the news. Sometimes that can be really inspiring. And then I wait until like 5 minutes before this whole thing is due and throw myself into a complete and utter panic, convince myself that it's never going to happen for the last, 3 of those 5 minutes, and then the last 2 of those 5 minutes, I sit down and I pound out something that's like the start of something good.
Oh, yes, same thing. Is it like, well, I don't know. It's like when people are like, you're so funny. I'm like, no, I'm not. But I guess it's not thinking that I'm funny that makes me funny. Like, I don't walk around being like, laugh at me. Like, I just am living my life in a colorful manner and authentically being like, I am going to be as bold and as loud and as alive as I possibly can and not worry about checking in to see if it's enough. Now, I have people in my life that I'm like, they will keep it to me straight. They know me enough, because it's like, people know like when you're like BSing them. But then most of the time you could just do whatever and they're like, oh my God, that's so amazing. And I think for me, the funny is trying to keep being magenta instead of just being pink. Ooh. And trusting that people want multiple layers of colors. And I think what used to scare me most was actually being successful. Because what if I would turn into a pink? And I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm going to be a magenta. Because we were talking about the younger people, like people like one of my students here, love you, Jess. She, or the people that we inspire are the people that we do this for. Because there's more funny women in the world than what you see. But if we have the boldness and the courage enough to be like, I'm gonna do what's right for me until somebody decides it is, then we can start making waves. And then, you'll see us here today, and then in a couple of years, it'd be like, oh yeah, remember when we were at the Winds Film Festival in Philadelphia? We rock.
Yeah, sure.
Any other questions from audience?
Yes, Jenna.
Okay, so I love that the whole panel, all of you spoke about how you're still learning, you're still evolving, you're still becoming a new woman every single day. But tell me, what's the one lesson that you would tell your 15-year-old self, your teenager self? What is that one lesson
Yes, okay. I learned this from my boyfriend's therapist. Don't, the only person you can compare yourself to is yourself. Is this like common sense? I just learned this. But you cannot compare yourself to other people's progress. You can only compare what you were doing last year today to what you're doing today. Does that make sense?
Oh my God, I love her so much, I can't. Yes. I think my godmother, Lisa, is like a willow tree. She always tells me to be authentic to my truth. And I think that has to do with my alignment. And it means okay, first of all, one thing is with money. Put that out there. Being an artist, you feel some type of way about asking, no, I did this. Where's my check at? Or building a standard. The three things that you don't mess with me is my alignment, my digestive tract, and my money. And it took me a minute to be as a woman, people be like, nah, well, how much is that? Or knowing what you're gonna do because you believe in it, that shift the game. No, I am a boss. I am an entity. No, everything I do, and being okay with the fine line between confidence and humility. I have to believe that I'm the best at what I do. You know what I mean? I have to believe that the thing I put out is necessary. That changed the game for me. So it's kind of funneling my vision into this one thing and focusing. And some people don't get it, and they not. But I'm fortunate enough to have, wonderful people like her in my life, and the other people in my life who'll be like, no, Christina, you are extraordinary. And to find people that you could put your mask down and not be okay with, and they're not gonna sell the story to the Star magazine. They're just gonna look at you, hold you down, tell you who you are, and encourage you. That's actually and I had to create that. I'm responsible for what my life is. It's not in anybody else's hands but my own. I create my happiness. I create my opportunity. Because if I wait for this, and then they'll catch on. Because when it gets to the point where I'm influential, I'll be like, y'all bitches is late. I've been like this. Where my check at?
I would say to 15-year-old Jen, so many things. First of all, I'd be like, well, little Jen, I know that you think your bindi is cool. Later, we're going to call that cultural appropriation. But for right now, you're the weirdest kid in school. So congratulations. I would tell. So when I was a teenager, I could tell that I was different. I grew up in a rural place, and teenagers. If you weren't shopping at the mall and buying Abercrombie, you were no one. And I was raised by a single parent, and I was ashamed a lot. We didn't have money. We didn't have resources, and we lived in kind of a little bit of an affluent small town. And I was the only kid in town by senior year that was still taking the bus to school. Little things like that, instead of driving my own car. And so I decided to kind of embrace my otherness by wearing bowling shoes to school every day. And I really kind of stuck myself out there as the other. But almost with an aggressive agenda underneath. Because I was 15 and I was insecure, it was a little bit more yeah, I'm different. Look at me, I'm different. And so I would just tell 15-year-old me to be yourself, but be yourself for you. Not because you have to prove to anybody that you're different. Wear the bowling shoes and the bindi because you love them, not because you're trying to make a statement because you think other people think you're weird. Does that make sense?
I missed the question, child. Are we supposed to talk to our 15-year-old selves? That got real. Oh, I missed it.
Yeah, and I would tell me at 15 to not be ashamed that the small town experience is one piece, and that eventually you're gonna move to Philadelphia where everyone has no money. And then you'll be the queen of the misfit toys.
Oh, man. I would tell my 15-year-old self, to don't deny the fire inside of you. I remember being 15 and like I would just be up all night with these things and I would do it and not limit myself based on pleasing other people. I was so about like, what do you think? Love me, love me, love me. Like everything to be loved and accepted, and to say love yourself so fiercely and see where that takes you. Yeah.
I think
What
we
a
have time
good
for
question.
One more question?
We got two. Can we
We got two?
Baby.
Just wondering about, as an artist and hearing each of you speak, you have various different projects that you get involved with. You're doing stand-up, you're in a movie, you're in a play, you're in an ensemble, you're in a improv group or whatever. Do you have some sense of the future, some place of a picture
Yes, honey.
there?
Yes.
What that picture is, because you know how you can just stay right here doing a million different things, and that's cool and it's good and it's fun, but we're always kind of told, what's your goal and what is that picture out there for you that you're going for? So I was just wondering if you have one.
Yes, honey. Sure do. That's why I wake up every day. I'm gonna put it in the streets because it's going down. I consider myself a lover, artist, and educator. So I live to love, create, and inspire. So one of my goals is to be one of the most influential women acting coaches in the entertainment industry, because I love artists enough and I want to inspire artists. So I want to be like a personal chef for the artists, because I think there's too many people in the entertainment industry that do non-holistic things to get to certain ways. So I want to be able to be, coach people to. I'm creating a philosophy of acting with a holistic base, and also producing today at 5:30. Which I never thought I'd ever say. I produced a documentary called Gender Journeys, More Than a Pronoun, with Luke Allen Productions, directed by Tess. I can't say her last name, but she's awesome. And that's going to be showing here at 5:30. And it's like being unlimited in my resources, being able to produce, being able to work with women like her and be like, what are we doing? Let's do something crazy. Pretty much being the Robin Hood of the system. The entertainment industry is $1 billion system. I'm trying to take what I can and use it and create my own things. And I want influence more than anything. I want the things that I say to be able to make changes in culture and society. And I hold that mantle. So you'll see it. It's going down. I'm trying to tell you. Put it on your calendar. It's happening, bitches. It's illuminating the world with light and love. Boom. Love her.
I currently make money doing small parts in TV shows and movies and commercials. You may have seen me selling razors and things like that. But I'm more interested in changing what's conventionally beautiful in Hollywood. So people like Mindy Kaling really inspire me. I'm not thin, I'm not tall, I'm not conventionally beautiful, but I think I have a really unique voice. So I created this web series about my upbringing in Japan. And thank you. And I'm currently working with a production company to develop it into a TV pilot so I can sell it. So I do see myself in show business, but I won't be a puppet. Yeah.
I think I'm taking a buffet approach. I have a couple of things that I'm thinking about. One is that I don't think comedy will ever leave me. I would love to write. To write for comedy, be that TV or movies or book or whatever. My brain is always thinking along the lines of, like, I'll see stuff, commercials, and be like, that wasn't funny. And my boyfriend will be like, it's a Purina commercial. I'm like, yeah, but missed the mark, not funny. As I can't, yeah, like some part of my brain can't stop thinking about comedy and what's funny and how to make things funnier and the joy of that. And I am absolutely enthralled with the idea of being able to make people laugh, because I think that that is something that we desperately need as a people. But I'm also really interested in helping people. So I'm looking at executive master's programs in mental health counseling right now. And just doing that and picking away at that part-time, because I'm sort of interested in carving out a niche, helping creatives and creative people with the specific challenges that you face being a content creator, feeling a little crazy, managing your time, the things that plague our artistic community, like substance abuse, and possibly traveling, writing and speaking, and publishing books. So, and I don't know if there's a way to marry those two things into one, or if that's even necessary. This idea of a parallel career is something that just occurred to me recently. Like, there's always been this idea of like, well, you gotta choose. So what are you doing? And now I'm starting to think maybe I don't have to choose. Maybe I can actually continue to follow a bunch of different threads of things that I'm passionate about and let the universe tell me if they're going to converge or not.
Cool. One more question.
My question is basically sort of similar to hers, but just define success.
Ooh, okay. Success to me is living in abundance and wholeness. Being able to do what I love to do, and not to worry about anything but what makes me happy and growth. And to be able to take that knowledge. I believe that my energy and my love equals is currency. That's success to me. Being able to be like, it's something to be exhausted because you have so much to do. It's another thing to be exhausted because what you're meant to do is so needed that you're working. That's successful to me. Right now, I'm still in the preparation mode where I'm going to continue to do the same thing till the opportunity comes along where I could be like the Harriet Tubman of art. And that's, you know what I mean? Well, hey, everybody, let's go in this direction. Let's take all the wonderful and beautiful people I know. And success to me is when they say Christina May, it opens the door for somebody. When my name is said, somebody can genuinely, if I say this person is the most talented person in the world, then people will be like, hey, let's give you $1 million contract because Christina said so. That to me, using my name to bring light and love in the earth, using my energy and light to uplift humanity as a whole, that would be success for me.
What Christina said, but also, being able to be happy, which includes, I would love to be able to buy my parents a house. I recently did a commercial where it was a supermarket commercial, and I go up to a bunch of bananas and I go, this price can't be right. And I would never say that in real life, but with that money, I was able to pay my parents back for school a little bit. So, just keep sacrificing my dignity. No, I'm kidding. I think success is happiness.
For me, it's success for me is when someone says, you helped. You made me laugh, or you made me think, or I enjoyed watching you or spending time with you or learning from you or hanging out with you. I think my students, because I love to teach, and I think my students are the best reflection of who I want to be. And from them, I see success. I see success in them. One of my former students is in the audience today, and I couldn't have guessed so many years ago that she would be here, but I'm so super proud to still know her, and now to know her as a professional person in this industry too, that to me, that feels like success.
Yup.
I know we're out of time. I want to thank our panelists and the audience for being here.
Thank
you,
you
Philly
so
Cam.
much for coming.
I encourage you to stick around. There's some great films all day today and tomorrow, so check them out. Thank
Come
you.
at 5:30 for Ginger Journeys, Luke Allen Productions. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.